everyone, Ena Esteline. My name is Emmeline and you're watching ETA to Z on Arts TV. Today, I'm going to be talking about Ethio-Jazz. Ethio-Jazz is a fusion of jazz, Ethiopian music, and other rhythms from different continents. The founder is none other than the legendary Mulatu Astatke. Today, we will meet the exceptional artists who made and continue to make this genre famous. Let's begin with the founder of Ethiopian jazz, Mulatu Astatke. Born in Germa in the 1940s, Mulatu brought jazz and Latin music influences to Ethiopia and mixed them with traditional music after training at the renowned Berklee College of Music. He became the first African to graduate from Berklee. In the 2000s, he gained a wider audience thanks to the movie Broken Flowers, starring Bill Murray. Often standing behind his vibraphone or conga, he still performs on stage and has opened his club called African Jazz Village in Addis Ababa. Dana Nacho? What is your definition of Ethio-Jazz?
When Mulatu was in the States, abroad, he absorbed, I think, the influence of Latin and jazz influences, and when he came here, he fused them with Ethiopian modes and scales. And he used, for example, a Latin groove with percussions, and he used improvisation, which is a jazz element, and he used the Ethiopian modes and used Ethiopian melodies or his own original melodies.
This genre is well known abroad, but is it as popular here in Ethiopia?
There are periods of times where it makes a surge, it makes a comeback. When we used to have the club at the Jazamba, days that were dedicated to Ethio-Jazz. So I would say it's an on and off, it's kind of comes in waves. If you look at what's happening in town right now, there are places where they cater to Ethio-Jazz and experimental music. One such place is Fandika.
Yes.
And maybe a few artists that are really specializing in that idiom. Sami Piano, Sami Yerga, yes, is one such person that really specializes in that.
Who are your musical references in Ethio-Jazz?
I think Mulatu started the Ethio-Jazz movement, and then after that, during the Derg era, there was, we call it the dark period. There was nothing happening much in that, especially in the Ethio-Jazz part of the music. And then guitar player, Grum Mazmur, has a big part in starting a jam session at the coffee house. And then that started an interest in jazz. And then later, but at the same time, simultaneously, me and Abagaz, we had a band called Admas in the States, and we're trying to do some Ethio-Jazz stuff later, mixing Ethiopian stuff with other influences. And then when we came here, we used to jam at the coffee house, and the coffee house started this interest in jazz, and later Ethio-Jazz. So a lot of groups came out of that. So we had groups called Addis Acoustic Project, Nubian Arc, Jazz Maris, Gayan Lab. And these days, there's the Gayan Lab is still playing. There is a group called Jazz Bisinia. There's a lot of younger group, Gojo Trio. There's a lot of different groups doing their own experimentation of Ethio-Jazz.
What kind of reception does Ethio-Jazz get from the audience?
There's definitely a market for it. There's a niche. It's a niche market, but whenever, for instance, Fandika, there is no nights that goes by not being packed. It's a very popular place. So when it's available, people do like it. And now we're facing a problem of not enough venues catering to this style of music. But it is popular. I wouldn't say it's as popular as pop music, but there's a market for it.
You have founded Jazamba School of Music. Can you tell me more about this school?
We went to a school called Berklee. And we also used to dream about having such an institution in Ethiopia, and we got together with Grum, Henok, me, Jonas, and Sami.
Yes.
We partnered up to open up the school called Jazamba, which also had the jazz club component, which was designed to subsidize the school. The school is no more, not in existence anymore, but there's movements on restarting it again. We'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What kind of support do you need
The help we need with the school is financial mostly. The school was an NGO, we're teaching for free. The teachers were not getting paid. We didn't have a place to teach. So at the beginning, Shaggar Radio gave us a space, and then later the Italian Cultural Institute under the Ethiopian Embassy, they gave us a place for a couple of years, and then we didn't have a place anymore. So that was a big problem. Renting a place takes a lot of money. We tried to fundraise for many times. We hired people even to help us fundraise, but it was difficult to get money.
Hopefully someone will be willing to support you guys.
It will be great if that happens. There's a chance to continue the school.
He will not tell you about the impact that the school has brought. I mean, I think he has really cranked out the next generation of musicians. A lot of them have gone through the school. And there's a lot of testimony going around about how that has impacted the Ethiopian music industry. It has really raised the quality of musicians.
Do your students have any interest in Ethio-Jazz?
Yeah, I think there's two layers to being a musician. Every musician, I think, has a fantasy of playing jazz. Ethio-Jazz especially. I think, that I know by going around, for instance, I would just compose Ethio-Jazz songs on my downtime, knowing that I might not perform it. I have a couple of tunes like that, and everybody has that. And there's a component of every musician that has the Ethio-Jazz element. Now, bringing it out is a whole different story, I think. The same is true with all musicians outside.
That's true.
Yeah.
So to add on Abagas, for example, when I'm teaching at the school, we use usually jazz standards, jazz standards that's used all over the world. So we use that as a vehicle to teach them the harmonies and the rhythm, the time, all those things that go with music education. And then when the time comes for them to perform at the end of the year or at the end of the semesters, we give them a chance to perform with their groups, the students, and we'll tell them to do whatever they want to do. And they always do Ethio-Jazz, original stuff that they wrote. So, because I think that tendency for us also is it's very difficult for us to compete in the mainstream jazz because we're not born doing it. So it's a little bit foreign to us, though we dabble in it and we do it. We don't really consider ourselves like a really true, authentic jazz, straight-ahead jazz players. But we have that influence, a lot of that influence in us, in our playing. And then we know some Ethiopian. We were Ethiopian, we were born and raised here, so we know the Ethiopian scales and more. We play them all the time with singers and stuff. So the natural tendency for Ethiopian musicians, most of them, is to go to Ethio-Jazz direction when they want to play some jazz. Because to just do the straight-ahead jazz, you really need to soak the music and experience it, live it, and learn it from the time you were young. And we don't have that here, so that's the tendency usually. There's an interest in jazz, and then we're Ethiopians, so the natural way to go is to fuse the two and find a way to improvise and do the stuff, having our own stamp on it, and which is also has more chance than for an Ethiopian musician. They have more chance to do original Ethio-Jazz and get somewhere than just to straight ahead jazz. We do that also, but that's the tendency. I don't think.
And Ethio-Jazz has sort of seeped into the pop music of today. The horn arrangements, for instance, the bass lines, some of the Latin bass lines have seeped into the pop music of today. So I think there's a continuation of that have branched off from the Ethio-Jazz.
በጣም አመሰግናለሁ።
Thank you.
This song is from a famous singer, composer, and arranger, Germa Bella. Germa Bella was one of the icons of swinging Addis in the 60s and 70s, a period when the musical frenzy was in full swing. But the fall of the empire in 1974 by the military coup of Colonel Mengistu Haile Mariam sounded the death of artistic freedom. The local nightlife had to deal with the strict rules of the Derg dictatorship, which introduced permanent curfews on its citizens. During this period, Germa's band, the Walias, went to the United States for a concert, and several members decided to stay behind and go into exile. Heartbroken after the death of the love of his life, Germa stopped playing music for many years. It was Francis Falsetto who convinced him to return to the stage after a 25-year absence, where he had been living off of odd jobs in the United States. The Frenchman then produced the album Mistakes on Purpose, featuring the group Akale Wube, and this was the last opus of the cult collection Ethiopic, which has been restoring Ethiopian music to its former glory since 1997. Ato Germa Bella, it's such an honor for me to have you here. So many Ethiopians grew up listening to your songs as kids, but some of our viewers may not know who you are. So who are you, Ato Germa Bella?
It is true. I started music when I was a child in 1955. It was in Ras Hotel. I have a very close friend who's called Bahata Gabrahiyot. I was attending Shimallis Habte school at the time. One day, when I was passing by Ras Hotel by foot, we called it swinging by foot because we walked by foot, because there were no cars at the time. I saw people gather there and standing in a queue. Then I found Bahata Gabrahiyot coincidentally. We didn't know each other before that. Then I asked Bahata, what's going on? He told me there is a music competition, and then I queued behind him. There were many people who were there for the competition. Bahata entered when his turn came. The judge was called Getaun Wargu, manager of Ras Hotel. He has a very sharp ear for music. He was a very skilled judge and had expertise in the field. Luckily, Bahata and I succeeded in the competition. This was how I started music, and I joined Ras Band after that.
You are a prominent figure of a period called Swinging Addis. What do you remember from this period?
When I started music in 1955, I performed it as a young musician, being free and open-minded, and we enjoyed our time very much. It was very interesting. We also went out of Addis Ababa to Harar, Diredawa to perform. We performed in Ras Hotel and Gennat Hotel, most of the time on Fridays. Many people who love music were coming there, and it was really a good time. At that time, many musicians used to come from abroad. They were from Africa, America, France, Kenya, Nigeria, just to mention a few. And we listened to their music, and we picked the music which we were interested in and performed it. This was the kind of music we used to perform. We performed in Amharic, and we performed music from abroad. Therefore, people came every Friday and danced, so it was a great time, and it is a good memory.
You co-founded the band Alem Germa with late Alemayo Eshete, who was one of your bandmates. What do you remember from him?
This is a good question. We were childhood friends. I admire Alemayo. I'm not like Ale. He was an open-minded and likable guy. He never backs down from doing what he loves to do, and many people love him, and he has lots of fans, both men and women. I was almost 15 years old when Alemayo and I met each other. I was attending Le'ul Makonnen school in Mercato at that time. Ale was attending Arbenyot school, and there was what's called Texas Tea House in Piazza. It was where we met each other. Alemayo was an open-minded and talented musician and singer. He was a very well-regarded singer. May his soul rest in peace, and condolences to his family. Alemayo and I started music together in 1958. We met each other before that also, but we were not working together. He performed in the police band. He He loved traditional music so much.
ሙዚቃ በጣም ነው የሚወደው። አንድ ጊዜ 19
Once he came in 1958, when the music started to be recorded,
መጣና የሐራምቤ ባለቤት
he introduced me to Ammaha Shete, founder of a record label.
ያስተዋወቀኝ 1958 ከአማሃ ጋር
We recorded 4 records with Ammaha in 1958. After that, we started performing together and Alemayo wrote the lyrics and I did the melody and we produced it with Ammaha.
አብረን ሰራ ነበር።
In 1965,
ከአለማየሁ ጋር ዓለም ግርማን ጀመረ።
we started the Alam Germa band with Alemayo at Taitu Hotel. There were other talented bands as well. Amongst those who closely worked with us was Abeba Kasa.
ሳክስፎን
He is still alive and very talented musician.
በጣም ጎበዝ ሙዚቀኛ።
When you were playing with Alemayo Eshete, it was during the empire. Afterwards, with the Walias, the regime changed. During the Derg regime, artists were prevented from creating, from playing. Can you explain to me?
ያጋጣሚ ሆኖ አሁን በጠየቅሽው
Regarding what you've asked me now, there was a curfew at the time. So we respected the time. But we had an ID card that showed that we were musicians.
ካርድ የምታሳየዋለን።
And we performed until midnight or until 1 or 2 a.m. And then we went to our homes. As you have said, the time was not good.
ጥሩ ጊዜ አልነበረ።
Music has alternating features of happiness and sadness.
ለሐዘንም ማለት ሐዘንም ደስታም ይፈራረቃል። ስለዚህ
There is a bad time and a good time. There were many songwriters in the Walias band at that time.
ማለት ውስጡን እያለቀስን
I mean, we were crying inside but laughed overtly. This is the life of a musician. It's like this, whether we like it or not.
ሁልጊዜ ደስታ የለም ሙዚቃ።
There's no happiness in music always. It's about making people happy. It's possible to write a very good song when you are deeply sad, and the same when you are happy.
ግን ሐዘን ይበልጣል ብዬ አምናለሁ።
But I personally believe that moments of sadness are much greater. So we used to write about this at that time. And there were talented songwriters at that time.
አንዱ ከኛ ጋር የሰራው
One who had been performing with us was Mulukan Mallasa.
ሙሉቀን መለሰ።
I knew him for 1 month. He came to us and produced 1 album.
ሙሉቀን በጣም የተካነ
Mulukan is a very skilled and talented musician. He can perform all kinds of music. He is very talented.
ቃላት እንኳን ያጥራል።
Ammaha Shete, may his soul rest in peace. I have no words to explain him.
በጣም ጎበዝ።
He was very talented, very brave.
ማንም ሰው
At that time, no one dared to invite 10 musicians at the same time at a concert.
ሰውየው በጣም የተካነና አንድ ነገር የማይፈራ
He had no fear.
10 ሙዚቀኛ
The time was a moment when it was impossible even to invite 1 guest into your house, let alone 10 musicians. But Ammaha Shete invited them on his own.
ለብቻው ማለት
I don't know. I have no words for him.
በጣም ቃላት ያጥረኛል።
You moved to America shortly after, like many Ethiopians.
ሆነ ተብሎ ታስ
It was not a planned decision to move to America. What happened was that Walias band went there and coincidentally we met with a family.
ቤተሰብ ጋር
But we left peacefully, very peacefully. There was no single problem.
አንድ አይነት ችግር አልነበረም።
Those who have family back home went back and the rest of us stayed in America.
የምንቀረው ቀረ።
So we parted peacefully.
Mulatu is considered as the founder of Ethio-Jazz. What did he bring to this musical genre?
We came to know each other with Mulatu as soon as he came back from America in 1957. Mulatu plays conga, piano, vibraphone. He is a master. Mulatu is among the prominent ones.
አሉ ከሚባሉት
He toiled for many years. He worked and toiled for many years in patience to introduce jazz to
እና
Ethiopia.
ብዙ የኢትዮጵያን ሙዚቃ በተለያየ
And he promotes different Ethiopian music in different ways.
ዓለም ውስጥ አሉ ከሚባሉት
He's one of the best musicians in the world. But he achieved this not for free, but by paying a lot of sacrifices.
መስዋዕትነት ነው።
I admire him a lot. We have known each other for a long time. He has patience and he is a musician who highly promoted Ethiopian music.
ኢትዮጵያ ሙዚቃ በጣም ያስተዋውቃል።
5 years ago, you released an album with Akale Wube called Mistakes on Purpose. What can you tell me about this? It was actually...
ከባድ ጥያቄ።
This is a very difficult question.
It was your return after 25 years of silence?
Yeah. በዚህ አጋጣሚ አጭር ለማድረግ
First of all, to make it short,
producer
the producer of the music was a Frenchman named Francis Falsetto.
European
It was in 2015 that we went to Paris to Francis.
Francis ከአካሌ ውቤ ጋር
And Francis introduced me to Akale Ube.
15 ተገናኘን
Then we met in 2015.
ወደ ፈረንሳይ ሄድን ፈረንሳይ
We went to France with my brother Siyum Bayena.
ስዩም በየነ የመጀመሪያ
It was the first tour that we performed there.
How was it for you to perform again after 25 years?
መባረክ ማለት
It's like a blessing. It's so interesting.
ከድሮ ጋር ሳስተያይ
When I compare it with the old days, there are some reasons. I quit music for a long time and came back again.
አጋጣሚ እነዚህ አሁን ያልኳቸው
And by chance, these people whom I have mentioned earlier, Francis, Akale Ube,
ከድሮ
Mulatu, Ammaha, and Alamayo. It is because of them. They are the major ones who inspired me.
እነሱ ናቸው
በጣም አመሰግናለሁ አቶ ግርማ።
በጣም እኔም
በዚህ የኢቲ8ዚ ክፍል እንድትደስታችሁ ተስፋ አደርጋለሁ። በሚቀጥለው ጊዜ እንገናኝ።